Did you know that you can recall your governor? You can recall your state representatives that you elect. You can do a petition and ask for another vote to put somebody else in position if you're unhappy with who you've elected in your state. But you don't have that same ability with the federal people who you elect, your House and Senate representatives and president. Let's talk about that a little bit. There's some implications to that. So once you elect your House of Representatives or your senator, for example, and you're not happy with the fact that they have not passed any bills to lower your groceries or lower your healthcare cost or improve the quality of either one of those things, or perhaps you feel uncomfortable with high prices on a lot of products today, the inflation rate, and there are no bills passed whatsoever that are going to force prices down in the economy. You're unhappy with the fact that you don't have any child care, so assistance that will allow you as an individual, both parents, to go out there today in middle-income America and earn a living that might be able to sustain them in today's world. Does it bother you that if you elect somebody, they can go literally 4 years and run for re-election again if they haven't accomplished anything? They have passed no bills. They have done nothing to help you or to deal with the things that you put them in office to do. So if you're not seeing any productivity out of these people who you elected into office, there's nothing you can do. You have to wait the duration of their period of time in office until the next election. Now, let's compare that to you. You work for a living, or I suppose you do. The vast majority of people do. And you are hired by a boss who tells you, here's what the job is going to be. Here's my expectations of you in that job. Here's what you must do to remain employed. Here's what you can do to really see progress and growth in the job. So you go to work for the company. But you don't do what the boss lined out was necessary for you to do to earn your wages. So they put you on a development program for 3 or 4 weeks, or a month, or 3 months, maybe 90 days. And they keep working with you. They give you training. They try to help you out, but you're still not making the progress. At the end of that 90 days, you really just haven't made the progress that the boss feels you need to make in order to pay you the wages. So what the boss can do is he can terminate you for performance because he's tried to help you, you haven't met the agreement. Now, there's ways to do that to soften the process, but the end result is you don't work there anymore. You don't have that ability. Even as a collective group, let's say you're a constituency, and for the most part, everybody agrees that they wanted this person to pass bills that reduce food costs, reduce drugs costs, and improved health care, and protected your rights as a renter against landlords that are, taking advantage of you. These things aren't getting passed. So if that's happening in your state, you literally can put together a petition, have that petition signed. When you get so many signatures, you can present it for an election, and you can then force a recall election and then replace those people with people who are going to go in there and fight for and get those bills passed that help you. You can't do that with your federal House of Representatives or senators. You can't do that with the president either. He has to be impeached. They have to be impeached. That's a long, drawn-out process based on and is within the control of the people whom are operating the government, which say is a House of Representatives for impeachment. But your person happens to be a House of Representative, and you want to recall him, but maybe that whole House doesn't. You don't have any options. You don't have any ability to say to that person, if you don't do your job, if you don't lower the cost of the things I ask you to lower the cost on, or protect me better in these particular areas, or increase the quality of healthcare or something, whatever that is that we as a group of constituents elected you to do, if you're not doing that, we don't have the recourse to recall you from the federal government. We have to wait until your term's up, depending on whether you're a House of Representatives or a senior. We have to suffer you for that period of time. And then we have a chance to vote you out. But until then, you don't care. You don't even care enough to come to the town halls, because you know that what you're doing is not what we want you to be doing, but you don't want to hear the complaints. And not that, by the way, holding a town hall where all we do is yell and scream complaints, hell, no wonder they don't want to come. Who would want to come to that anyway? Nothing gets done that way. You let them know how you feel, that's okay, that's great. But they are under no obligation to you. They don't care, if you want to put it that way. There's nothing you can do to make them care so much that they want to come and take that abuse. So that's the first problem with town halls that are going on right now. There's big, large town halls, a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, and Democrats are taking advantage of that, and Republicans are fighting it, and guess what? It just keeps going on the same way over and over and over again. Because one of the bills we should ask them to pass is the fact that we, as the constituents of a particular person who we place in office, have the ability, by coming together with the majority of us and agreeing, we would like to recall our congressman or senator. And that means conducting an emergency vote and re-electing someone else who we feel will go in there and fight for those bills we want passed that are going to give us what we ask for. Right now, you don't have that. Until we can pass that law in Congress and get it through both houses and get it passed, we're suffering with people who are not doing their jobs. If you think of yourself as their boss, which you can't really do because you aren't really their boss currently, but if you think of yourself that way, you would have a poor performing employee you couldn't fire for any reason. You have to work. If their employment contract was for 2 years, you'd have to allow them to work for 2 years before you could consider firing them. That's the analogy. As if you were working for somebody, that would be the analogy that boss has. How many bosses do you think, how frustrated are bosses going to be, or leaders or owners of businesses going to be if they had that imposed upon them? That's what you as a citizen have imposed upon you with your representatives and senators, until you get them to pass a bill that says, oh, let me tell you what, if you're not paying attention and delivering what I ask you to deliver, I'll recall you and we'll put somebody in there that'll get the job done. Okay? So why would they care about that? I mean, well, first of all, they wouldn't want to do that because, let's see, their job is like about $150 to between $140,000 and $160,000 a year they're making in that job. They have excellent health care. But more importantly, the people who are influencing them, who can impact them in a way that they perceive as positive or negative, are the oligarchs in our society, the people with money, who are, through lobbying and other things, influencing those individuals and saying, if you don't follow this, we're going to make your life miserable for you. We're not going to fund your next campaign. We're not going to provide you these business opportunities. We're not going to promise any kind of business opportunities after you leave your position. We're not going to be putting money towards you. So some of these people go into Congress, they might be making the most money they've made in their lifetime, $160,000 a year. But the opportunity to earn hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, because you're connected now to an oligarch force, if you will, that's out there in the world, that are saying, hey, we have these potential opportunities for you if you kind of vote our way. We'll be glad to find a place for you here or there. And, we're going to keep you at the $150,000, $160,000 or greater amount of money. And we're going to give you stock options and things like that in the company. That's who they are responsible for. Those are people who they listen to and pay attention to. Not you, the constituent out here who put them into that role. And that's why they're not coming to talk to you, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have any authority or any control over them. You have no legitimate ability to do something with them, like recall them and replace them. Taking them out of that, if you had that opportunity, you could say, we're going to recall you because you're not delivering what we want as constituents. You're removing them from a $160,000 job with a terrific benefits package, and hell, they go home, they're on break 4 or 5 times a year, and when they're there, they're just going to dinner, they're talking to people, they're living a pretty good life, not the one you're living. And they're getting in touch with these oligarchs, people who continue to enhance their wealth, their personal wealth down the road, who they are very responsive to. And herein lies the problem. Your price of food is not going down. Now, I know eggs went down 50%. That's because the bird flu lightened up. It's not because of the president or the Congress or the Republicans or Democrats. It's because the bird flu kind of lightened up, and now people are, they're not having to kill as many chickens. They're delivering more chickens and more eggs, and the price went down. Price goes down for fuel the same way. Demand and control, So you want your representative to be responsive to you. You're not going to get it by coming into a town hall of 500, even 15,000 people and screaming and clapping when you hear what's good, or yelling bad things or booing your representative when she's up on stage, whoever it is. They're not accountable to you once you put them in office. They'll be a lot more accountable 2 years from now, or 4 years from now, or 8 years from now, whatever the time period is, that they're up for election again. Then they're going to be really accountable to you again. You'll see them all the time. You'll see them all the time. And they'll be making all these promises, and they won't deliver them again after you elect them. They'll be back in the pocket of those people, of the oligarch pockets, and they'll be responding to them quickly and in great number. Now they'll come touch you, they'll come in and do a speech, they'll come back, but literally how many times do you see these people coming in and sitting down at a McDonald's with a group of people, senior citizens, for example, having breakfast in the morning, saying, "What are your thoughts on Social Security? How are you guys feeling about all this right now? Is it okay? Are we where we need to be?" So when they're not in session and not hobnobbing with the people who have money and influence in your community, or outside of your community, even up in DC, they should be down on your front porch. If it were me, I'd be on your front porch, knocking on your door saying, "Hey, can we have some coffee? Do you have some coffee available? My name's Vic Vogel, I'm Congressman so-and-so. I'd really like to sit on your porch and talk about how you think things are going." And talking with people like that, who every day that you're away from DC, every day you're back home, you get up in the morning, you put on your clothes, you go have breakfast somewhere, and you ask a group of people to join you. You just listen. You just sit back and listen. That'd be a pretty phenomenal thing to see. That would be somebody who's responsive to you. Now, since you don't have control over them, you can't yell at them. That's not going to get the job, because basically what they do, they just don't show up now. So you don't get a chance to yell at them. And yes, it makes for good television. It still doesn't get anything changed. You got to reopen the dialogue with them. Learn how to process, demand that they come in and change your process. Instead of having a town hall, have a workshop. Bring 100 people in, put 10 people at a table, equal amount of Democrats and Republicans. Talk through what are the top 5 things that all of you agree you would like this congressperson to go back and write a bill on and change and fight for it. And then put in there how I know you've been successful, and if you haven't, why? But you've got to come back and talk to me about, I need to understand what your barriers are that are blocking you. If it's the oligarchs, if they're saying we don't like what those people say they want, then you need to help us understand why you're going to choose their point of view versus ours, and how that's going to impact us. Because in the end, we're going to tell you, we're going to replace you in the next election cycle. And we're going to put somebody in there who's going to change the process to say we can recall you anytime we want. Maybe then you might be more interested in getting some of the things we want done. And then maybe we can understand how to help you integrate what the business environment wants, as long as it doesn't infringe upon us. Because that's to our benefit too. These are things that we need to determine make a difference. This is how we can make a difference in town halls. Don't come there 300, 500 strong Democrat and Republicans all combined and agree upon screaming and yelling at your representative. It's not going to make any difference. You don't have any authority over them once you elect them. At least not at the federal level. What you want to do is get them engaged with you to understand the importance of what you need for them to do for you, and to agree, get some statements of agreements. And when we have a team, we normally put together a team charter, and everybody signs that team charter saying, we agree this is what the team is about, and here's our commitment to going into that team. That's not an unusual thing to do. Why wouldn't you do that with your representative? Have them put their name on what your product is. Hold a session. List the top 5 things you want them to pass a bill on this year. You can do this on an ongoing basis throughout the year or afterwards once you're educated about how to do it. And there are some people within your particular constituency that can help you facilitate it, or just bring someone in to facilitate it who has nothing to do with your constituent attitudes. And have them conduct these on a regular basis for you, and build that into your funding for your representative. Have them there and their staff to help process it all, and to sit down, go sit, the representative would have a phenomenal amount of information if they were attending a session of 100 people, 10 people at a table, over the course of 2 hours. They were going and say that's a Saturday morning, we do this for 4 hours. Over the course of 2 hours, be able to go in and sit in on 10 people, just go in and sit at the table and listen to the dialogue that's going on. What kind of valuable information is that going to give that person? Now, how do you help that congressman integrate that with those business people in a way that they understand we're not trying to block capitalism as long as it's aimed at the right purpose and the right focus, and that's to help everyone. We don't mind them getting rich because they're investing their money. We know that. But they don't get rich by just investing. They have to have a product that gets made, gets sold, and people or customers as well as employees are part of that chain. They're part of that blockchain that makes that happen. There's a value to that. But we have to feel that we're not worrying about healthcare, we're not worrying about housing, we're not worrying about cost of putting kids in school versus drugs or other things that, and trying to help take care of parents as well as take care of kids nowadays. These are all things that businesses should understand if they help us solve through that representative. That integration happens there, that we are in fact better off, all of us down the road. all of us then are happy. You have businesses growing and thriving, employees like working for the businesses, they're benefiting from the businesses. Everybody is going down the right track. That got us where we were as an economic power over 200 and some odd years. But what we're doing is we're going in because we're pissed off at our representatives for not doing anything. They're not doing anything we're asking them to do. So we're pissed off at them, and we're yelling at them, and we're calling them names. And they know that they're going to be in this position for 3 or 4 years. So they got an opportunity to work with business and build those relationships and do what those people want to do, because that's where their next step is going to be. It may not be to remain in Congress. It may be to step out of Congress and step in to one of these oligarchs' private life that are kind of paying them back for what they did for that oligarch. That's what we have to stop. We've got to convert that. We've got to convert that back into the representatives that be able to manage and control and have more accountability to us. But then we have to also talk to that representative, and we have to understand, along with those business oligarchs, how to combine our efforts to where they really started. Most businesses didn't start trying to make the most money they could for themselves. They started because there was a need that people had. They were providing that need, and there was a purpose behind their business, and it was more or less designed to help people get something faster, get it cheaper, get it better. Whatever that was, there was a purpose to it. It wasn't shareholder equity initially, because you weren't a public entity, most likely. Nowadays, I guess you could start as a public entity, but if the purpose was really to satisfy people's needs, to help them out. And as an employee, that's what you're doing with people. Oh, God, that felt good. That felt good. So we got to get back to that. You got to get back to that combination that integrates the wealthy with the workforce, and that combination of we both need each other. For them to be wealthy, they need us. Unless they're so wealthy now that they don't need working environments, they can go invest their money and other things. And they're just investing, and so they don't need a workforce, okay? But the vast majority of businesses need a workforce. They need to revisit their purpose. We can, as employees, as a community, etc., we can begin to work through our representatives to integrate businesses back with people the way it needs to be. There are some businesses like that out there. In Europe, it's Virgin Corporation, Richard Branson. Very much like that. Very much like that. He's very concerned about his employees. They are everything to his business. We can do that too. But the first thing is, we've got to balance that control of the federal people we put in positions. We need that law that says we have the right to recall on a special election basis, not where the governor replaces somebody, but where we have to have an emergency election. It's processed, we go through that election, and we can either retain the person or we can replace the person depending on how we feel about them. So those are some of the things that come out of not just having a town hall where 500 people are screaming at people on the stage, but we turn that more into a workshop environment. and we can process that. And today you can literally process that with, say, 100 people around the table, and try to balance parties and get them to talk into each other. So there's a whole team building element to it. There's a whole idea of creating the kinds of criteria, the objectives you want your representatives to do. And then there's the performance criteria. We don't just want you to reduce the price of food. We want you to reduce the price of food in a way that we can afford to buy the quality products we need to stay healthy. In other words, we need you to reduce the price on fruit and vegetables and meats and fish and shrimp and all the other things that are healthy for us, as well as the prices of those prepackaged processed foods you have on your shelves. So it's not just reducing food costs, it's reducing food costs in a way that allows the average person, or maybe a senior citizens, to buy food that's good for them, to select from a variety of healthy foods versus only processed foods. So these are thoughts in my mind. I think these town halls need to be done differently. There's a whole series of things in terms of connecting to representatives and constituents and integrating that with the capitalist part of our society. There's a whole dynamic there that needs to transpire that I'm not sure everybody has their arms around yet. But we need to process that. We need people who are in the business of facilitating and processing that leadership role in a way that makes it work on an ongoing basis. Representatives, when they come home, are spending a lot more time doing sit-down meetings, collecting data and information. People who work for those people need to get a new sense of purpose about what the staff, what their role is, and getting that information, consolidating it, prioritizing it, structuring it into performance criteria that get turned into bills that show the kind of success results we want. Okay, that's all I wanted to spend time doing. Is I think we need to see more of that, less of the screaming and yelling stuff. We can be better at these town halls. They don't need to be town halls. They need to be constituent workshops. We need to be productive in what we're doing, not just, I don't know, maybe, I don't even know if you're relieving tension. I think you're probably creating more tension when you go in. I think your blood pressure, if you measured everybody's blood pressure before they went into that session at home and then measured it at that session, you probably see an increase in blood pressure because we're creating anxiety. We're not solving problems. We're not getting things done. We're walking away with a lot of people feeling good about having yelled. Nothing changes. And it doesn't change because we don't have that change in law where accountability to us is measured in a potential quick and responsive way, like a recall. Thanks for watching this. I hope it's helpful to you. If you'd like to discuss it more, you can reach me on my www.victorvogel.com website. There I have a place called Events and Calendar, and you can go on there and actually book a free conversation with me if you'd like to talk more about how to create these constituent workshops. I'll be glad to spend some time and talk to you about how to do that in your area. Also, if you can visit me on Building Renaissance Leadership channel on my YouTube channel, please subscribe to that. Click the notification bell so you get videos like this when I put them out. I don't schedule them. There's not a frequent schedule of them, so you'll be notified when they come out if you subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if you're on there, please put a like. And I always appreciate comments. If you have something to say, please get on there and put whatever kind of comment you'd like to have in there. So please consider what I'm talking about here. If you're somebody who can organize something in your community that can help make a difference, it's time to really turn this around. Thanks for watching.